Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Innovation Gathering. My name is Shilen Patel. I'm the chairman of the Community Enrichment Lab, and we are thrilled to have you here tonight, and we are excited to be co-hosting the gathering with Tampa IP. The theme for tonight is Resetting for Resiliency. 2020 has been an unprecedented year of disruption and turmoil and challenges, but as you'll hear in our conversation tonight with our guest Richard Florida, these challenges also present an opportunity that is unprecedented. We have a chance to reset Uptown, to be wired for resiliency, to exemplify resiliency, and to be firmly facing towards the future. We want to thank everyone who has helped us get ready for tonight's event, especially our title sponsor, Florida Blue. Florida Blue is more than just a sponsor. They are a partner to the Uptown community that is working actively to address many of the topics that we're going to be talking about tonight, including generational poverty, and how the Uptown community can be the model of a resilient and connected community. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and enjoy the Innovation Gathering.
Florida Blue is honored to help make the 2020 Innovation Gathering possible, and we appreciate the collaboration we have with the Tampa Innovation Partnership, Community Enrichment Lab, and many other Uptown organizations and individuals working to build a healthy, strong community. At Florida Blue, our mission is to help people and communities achieve better health. However, health is not something you can address in a vacuum. Good health requires food security, reliable housing, educational growth, transportation options, and opportunities for real prosperity. For too long, the Uptown area has faced chronic social issues that have led to generational poverty. That's why Florida Blue is committed to partnering with the community so together we can find solutions. We believe the best way to make a meaningful impact in Uptown is through the lens of listening, hearing, and becoming a partner to work with the community in making a difference for them, and not just a funder. We are proud to be working alongside organizations like the Tampa Innovation Partnership, Community Enrichment Lab, University Area CDC, Feeding Tampa Bay, USF, and others with a very lofty goal. We are collaborating with them to not only improve the lives of the residents who live there now, but for generations to come. And now I'd like to introduce tonight's featured guest, Richard Florida. Richard is a professor at the University of Toronto's School of Cities and Rotman School of Management, a distinguished fellow at NYU and Florida International University, and co-founder and senior editor of the Atlantic City Lab. His book, The Rise of the Creative Class, published in 2002, traced the fundamental theme running through a host of changes in American society, the growing role of creativity in our economy. In 2017's The New Urban Crisis, Mr. Florida dives into some of the trends that emerged in our cities over the 15 years since the rise of the creative class. 2020 has shone a harsh light on many of the trends discussed in the New Urban Crisis, making the book and Mr. Florida's overall work extremely relevant. In an article from a few months ago, Richard wrote, "The intertwined crises of urban America and the political movement that has grown around them and in their wake create a powerful resetting moment when it is possible to remake our cities, suburbs, and entire metro areas as more just, inclusive, and resilient places." That brings us to our theme for the 2020 Innovation Gathering, Resetting for Resiliency, and it's my pleasure to introduce Richard Florida.
Hi, everyone. Rich Florida here. Thank you so much for that warm welcome and introduction. It is fantastic to be back with you in Tampa today. You know, it's been almost 4 years to the date exactly since I was with you last time. Thank you to the Tampa Innovation Partnership and the Community Enrichment Lab for hosting this critical event on resetting for resiliency and on all the progress you all have made. Congratulations on the Uptown Innovation District, the kickoff of this great strategic plan, all the other great things that have happened in Tampa and Hillsborough County, all the fantastic stuff that's happening in other parts of the city, in the region, in the downtown. About 12 years ago now, I wrote a book called The Great Reset. And in that book, I argued that the economic and financial crisis of 2008 gave us all in America and in communities around the world the opportunities to reset ourselves, to take a time out, to rethink the way we were living and working. And I said, all of these great economic and financial crises, the Great Depression, the crisis of the 1890s, I could go back in time. All these great economic and financial crises were followed by fundamental resets in the way we live and work and the way we form our communities. And the way I look at it is in the midst of this resetting for resiliency, which is our theme today, we really have a once in a century opportunities to build back our communities better. We were on a trajectory of growing without a plan, really. And I don't want to say that was such the case in Tampa, because the Innovation District and Innovation Partnership have had a plan. But as a country and as a set of communities, we were growing without a plan. And we were growing in ways that weren't optimal. We were seeing high degrees of inequality. We were seeing the fracturing of our political discourse. We were seeing an economic and social and cultural divide. And now we have the opportunity to build back better. Not only to make our economies more innovative and vibrant, to create better jobs and spur innovation, but to rebuild in a way which is more inclusive, more equitable, more just, healthier, safer, and more resilient. And with this conference and with the strategic plan and with the conversations going on, Tampa and the Tampa region is very well positioned to be a leader in that conversation and in that strategy going forward. I'm honored to be back in Tampa and to moderate in a standing group of panelists and regional leaders, each of whom is a distinguished person and each of whom is a leader and a key factor in building a better and more resilient Tampa. Joining us are Chris BOWEN, the Chief Development Strategist for RD Management, Clarence Eng, Chairman of the Tampa IP Advisory Board, Practice Leader at Kimley Horn, Jack KOLOSKY, President of the MOFFITT Cancer Hospital, Bruce Bergherm, Senior Executive Officer, Acute Care Services, Advent Health, Sarah Combs, CEO of the University Area Community Development Corporation, Shilen Patel, Chairman of the Community Enrichment Lab, Chris Leon, ED of the Community Enrichment Lab, and my old and dear friend, Mark Schaap, Executive Director of the Tampa Innovation Partnership. Mark, let's start with you. How do you think the COVID-19 pandemic is impacting economic development? How do you think communities are responding? And how do you think the Innovation District and the greater Tampa region can best deal with the challenges and take advantage of any opportunities that might be coming your way?
Well, first, thank you very much, Richard, for participating in this panel conversation and coming back to Tampa. I think it's getting to know where we have strength, and that's what we're doing through this investigative process of the Strategic Action Plan, and then creating a place where people can come together to solve these problems. We have this major base, MacDill Air Force Base, which is about 20 some odd miles from where the university sits. And Central Command, United States Central Command, Special Operations Command sit right there. And the defense industry recognizes, and it started with the previous Defense Secretary Ash Carter, that we've got to do something to connect the defense industry to technology. And what we realized was we've got the defense industry, we've got a large veteran community, we have a significant veteran-owned companies, and we've got the College of Engineering that really is working on a lot of these problems. And as a result, we've created what's called the Institute of Applied Engineering. It's brand new, but they got an $85 million contract from Special Operations Command in February of this year, and they're located where we used to have the old mall, now at Rhythm. And we're seeing some similar conversations with our cyber partners.
This shift to telemedicine or virtual medicine, people aren't talking about this enough, and Tampa has a real opportunity here with what you're doing. So I'm wondering, Jack, if you wanted to build on that, Bruce or others wanted to talk a little bit more about these shifts in healthcare and shifts in frontline work before we move on.
One of the things that we've seen as a regional, if not a national referral center is that people are willing to travel for their health care. But let me take it the other side. They don't always need to travel. And what we've accelerated is virtual healthcare that is reaching, in our case, and this is a specialty cancer center, about 15% of our overall patients, which, believe me, we were in the single percentages earlier. But I think they will access that that service as they need to and as they're able to. Now they can't get major surgeries and chemotherapies and radiation and all the rest through that, but they can get sort of those routine checkups. And I suspect for Bruce's organization, that percentage, particularly in primary care, is much higher.
And everything Jack just said, absolutely, we experience it too. We've got to learn how we can go and reach our customer, our patients in the home. I mean, clearly the acceleration of technology has allowed us to do that and meet with the patients.
I've been talking about the need to upgrade frontline jobs, especially in communities like Tampa and South Florida, when more than half the workforce, think about this, a third of the workforce, maybe 40%, do good, high-paying professional work, and 10 or 20% do manufacturing, blue-collar work, and construction work. About half of our workers do low-paid service work, much of it frontline work in healthcare and retail and logistics and warehousing. We got to pay them better and make it. That should be a key principle of your economic strategy. How is this COVID-19 impacting the workforce in Tampa?
You know, the labor force is just not there. We don't have enough skilled labor force to handle these type of events. Today, within the West Florida Division, we have over 1,300 openings. I have over 700 openings just for nurses. And I can't fill, you know, our responsibilities are to provide care for the communities. Alone, just nurses, I think we have over 600 nurse openings today. And so I know that I'm not alone within the Tampa market in terms of you know, finding and hiring that skill set. So obviously we all heard about the travelers that were going around the country and some of the high wages that they were earning, and they certainly were necessary that we had to find. But you know, one thing that I really want to touch on is the heroes that came out of this event. I mean, clearly, you know, I've been in healthcare over 25 years, and to recognize the impact that the consumers experienced in you know, our teams putting their lives on their hands, and we had people that would raise their hands and says, we will take care of the COVID patients. And so it really touches you, and you know, as a faith-based organization, we are here to serve.
One of the things that I saw that united the community was thank you to our essential workers, our frontline healthcare workers who were putting, in some cases, their lives on the line to treat their fellow citizens, our first responders, our people who we didn't think of as essential workers and all of a sudden became very essential, those guys that deliver things to us, staff our grocery stores, all the rest. And I got a greater sense of community from that outpouring from all of those people. And that's a lot of our staff. So the frontline healthcare workers and those essential workers. And I think we need to build on that sense of community as we go forward.
What do folks think are the biggest opportunities and challenges facing Tampa and the Innovation District going forward as you unveil the strategic plan into the near and medium term future?
I think one of the things that I saw early on here in the Uptown District and around the university and the enormous medical concentration and district is I saw a lot of silos. Silos were created out of incredible hard work and incredible development and growth within the innovation and academic community. But they are silos, and they were silos, and they were enclaves. Culture curated properly and structured properly does break down those silos if it's a culture that everyone can be included in and participate in and fully engage, and not just to receive, but really to give. To be able to offer yourself into this community and this culture. I think that's what the Uptown District and that story that has been building for so long and is really such a great story. I believe that that's at the heart, of that story.
I think that one of the great things about Uptown is the communication it fosters among stakeholders, and I think that when these things start happening in the future, having a set of institutions that are effectively interacting, that are optimizing that interaction, it helps our local community. It also builds models that we can export and we can show other areas and other regions. This is how we did it, and I look forward to the opportunity in the coming years to be able to kind of share how the synchronicity of the institutions here helps us navigate, protect the vulnerable, mitigate what could be the worst outcomes of any situation socially, medically. And I think that I think that technology is important to that, but the simple act of being willing to interact and engage across stakeholders is the door opener.
I'm excited about the reset that you talked about. And I think it's long overdue, especially for communities like the university area that have been set back for far too long. The residents in our university area community are more of a community than where I live. They rely on each other. They come together and unite, and they're able to make it through because they're relying on each other. And I think that it's important for us to really start by building a purpose-built community and surrounding them with opportunities to be able to grow and leverage and do this in a way that's inclusive and fair and equitable, because I think that we have something very special here. And I think that if we're able to really all work together and figure out a solution where others have failed, I think that we can create something that could be modeled in other communities.
Our communities will survive, large and small, but the way we use space will be different. I think the analogous change here to what's happening in our communities as we move into more of a post-industrial or remote work environment or post-pandemic environment is really the decline of manufacturing. Our cities, and not just Pittsburgh and Detroit, but cities like New York and London, Toronto, used to be big manufacturing centers. All of that manufacturing, or a large share of it, went away. And all of those factories became the places artists and innovators and incubators moved into. We're going to have a different kind of office space. There's no doubt. We're probably not going to want to go back to big office towers, stacked and packed and go in front of elevators. And people are going to be scared about that. I was talking to one office designer in New York City and with regard to your space. He said to me, and I was saying, what do you do with the Neiman Marcuses and Hudson Yards that went bankrupt and they're not going to open? He said, that's the best space. Malls and retail space are the best space, which large floor plates to repurpose for incubator and collaborative work. And I also asked them, and you can do it in Tampa, let's put more of it outside. Let's open up the walls. Let's make the windows work. Let's add ventilation. We're not only put the restaurants outside, let's put the damn offices outside for part of the year, especially in South Florida. What do you think the Innovation District and the Innovation Partnership can do to create a better environment for remote work, collaborative work, and interactive work? What do you think are the big 1, 2, 3 things that Uptown and the strategic plan and the Innovation District need to do to make this all happen?
This Innovation District is really the ideal laboratory to bring all these pieces together. Yeah. When we talk about the social aspects, poverty, the demographics around, it is a very diverse demographic, right? You have really everything from the doctors, researchers, folks that live and work, pretty much close to the university, to those who are providing the 50% of the service, the frontline workers. And this is large enough area that has all the institutions, a lot of institutions, so you have employment, you have the the opportunities. I mean, obviously the retail was part, but then there is this opportunity to find all the other sort of the elements that you can stitch together.
I've lived in Tampa for my whole life, and one of the things I've most appreciated about this city and this region is so often it feels like a blank canvas. People can lay out a vision, and there is space and cooperation and momentum to make that vision come to life. We've seen it in downtown. I've seen so many areas of my hometown transform since I've grown up here over 40 years. And I think that the university area is the most beautifully primed blank canvas that we have in this area. We have these great pillars, we have this great community there, and we have an opportunity to, however, layer new ideas, new building, new development, in large part because of what RD is doing at the mall, but all up and down that area and all through the district. There's an opportunity to put a new stamp on things. And so there are a lot of areas of this country and of the world where things are deeply entrenched, and you have a lot of inertia. This is not one of those areas. And I think that we've seen that, we've seen now the need for that transformative potential come to fruit with all of this.
I think with the pandemic, a lot of people really connected again with being outside. You were talking a little bit earlier about, creating space outdoors, but really giving people space to meet, to spend time together, to connect with nature, and to kind of re-envision how to integrate the commercial elements of that, the work elements of that, and being able to pull people that have felt before like they weren't possibly welcome in a certain type of environment, or having something that you've talked a lot about is different people grouping in different ways. So for us to think strategically of how we start building bridges between groups of people that aren't usually used to spending time together and to learning from each other or growing from each other, I think that's one thing that we really have to contemplate in how we actively try to engage one another to build those complete communities.
Yeah, I'm a bit of an oddball as a real estate developer. I am more personable, I think. I'm more interested in people than I am in making a fast buck and in building buildings. My feeling is that the buildings follow the people. It's about listening and creating the story of where are we going? Inheriting a 1,400,000 square foot building called a mall, and trying to figure out what is this? Where do we go with this?
Where does the common space create value, and how do we repurpose the space to make sure it's primed to create that value and for people to want to come there to get certain things that they can't get when they're at home, maybe more in tunnel vision. But it's also shining, for those 88% of people, it's shining a bright light on their communities, where they live. What's accessible to me? How easy is it to live my life in this way if there are elements of it that are appealing to me? And so I think that all of those things are causing people to reflect, employers to reflect, and I think we've got a great opportunity in Uptown based on what's there and what can be brought there with ease and how it will be received by the stakeholders there.
I have a couple closing remarks. First of all, I just want to reiterate my congratulations and thanks. I think some of you know this. Tampa's in one of the communities in this country I've been closest to, and I've been visiting Tampa since before I wrote Rise of the Creative Class. Tampa's a community that's embraced my ideas, criticized my ideas, learned from my ideas, gone beyond my ideas, and from which, and I've said this before, from which I have learned a great deal. Our partnership has been incredibly beneficial to me, and I hope I've been of some utility or benefit to you. I also want to thank you for giving me hope. We're in an election season in the United States, and regardless of which side you're on, one commentator recently used the word, what we're seeing is an S show. But that's not the case in Tampa, and that's not the case in local cities. In America, Americans are crazy. I say this all the time to my friends in Canada. They're crazy, but they get stuff done. We are crazy, but we get stuff done. And we get it done locally by forging these partnerships between university, various level of governments, nonprofits, like the Innovation Partnership in the Innovation District. Americans are just good at self-organization. I see it in every community I go to. And you know what else I see? In this election period where everyone is so ideologically and divided between partisan lines, and those divisions are probably the greatest in 100 years. When I go to communities or when I read about this, when you look at communities like yours, I don't know. We just had an hour and a half long conversation. I don't know who's a Democrat, who's an independent or Republican. You all sounded the same to me. And what the research shows is exactly this. When we get to the level of our community, the divides between left and right, conservative and liberal, which are like this on the national level, disappear. And we all want what's best for our communities. And there's no place that more exemplifies that than Tampa. I congratulations on all you've done over the past 15 or 20 years that I've gotten to know you. Congratulations on what you've done with the innovation partnerships. Congratulations on the strategic plan. we're going to get there sooner rather than later. So thanks for having me, and I hope to see you in person soon.